IVM.
I have a very special guest on my show today, someone I was very excited to have. I have been now knowing him for almost 10 years. We keep bumping into each other at events and all kinds of weird places. We even have had several breakfasts and lunches together. But the best way to describe him, and I was kind of trying to create his persona so that you can identify who he is think about Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible meeting Richard Branson, who's the brand builder at Virgin, and Dalai Lama. If these three characters were put together into one persona, that is the man on the show today. So you can only imagine how excited I am. At the same time, I think it's rare to get his time. He's a very busy man. But like I said, we are lucky to have Kiran Khalap on the show today. Welcome to the show, Kiran.
That was an amazing introduction.
No, you are a branding man, so I had to figure out how do we brand you? What are the three qualities
right.
which can best describe you? And I think, so for everybody over here, he is a yogi and a spiritual teacher, and he can talk about metaphysics and physics and quantum leaps and jumping and sound and meditation and remain quiet. So the Dalai Lama is really flowing through his veins. He could be hanging on a cliff on a remote mountain called El Capitan. And, when helicopters are all moving, and that's when you see Mission Impossible. And at the same time, he could be giving, his speeches on brand building in foreign universities, to governments, to large brands. And he's the man behind some of the big iconic brands in India, including, yes, all the millennials out here, Aadhaar. He was one of the men who was responsible to create the brand and positioning of the UDID or
UIDAI.
UID. Thank God it was not called UIDAI. It's Aadhaar, and we'll learn about it. But Kiran, really, really thanks and welcome to the show. I also found out that you are also a Chembur boy. Somehow I'm meeting everybody from Chembur, so I grew up in Chembur.
Yeah, we went there in 67.
Wow. And you were in AFAC school.
Oh, yes, AFAC.
I was in technically a better school. Of course, we keep debating that. I was in general education.
Yes.
So they were like, there are these three schools, and all the people who are alumni of these schools, you need to give us a shout out on Twitter. So there is General Education Academy, which we think is the best, followed by AFAC school.
AFAC was just starting then.
Yeah. And then there is OLPS.
Correct.
And then there was this famous school called St. Anthony's, where all the girls went.
Yes.
So, if you are in Chembur, you will largely be part of these three. One of these three schools. And so, of course, I was in school much later than you. But I think there is something about Chembur. A lot of, in fact, I recently met another advertising guy who was in Chembur. So, was there any particular reason, or did you think Chembur had any influence on you?
I don't think it was to do with that, but it's an interesting point. Mysore Colony, which is also technically in Chembur, near the refinery.
Yeah.
At one point, it had the maximum number of media planners from the advertising industry.
Mysore Colony, wow.
Yes.
I can imagine.
So strange. I don't know how it happened.
It's interesting you say that, because RBI quarters are in Chembur.
Yes.
Plus, then there is this Anushakti Nagar. So a lot of intellectuals.
Yes.
And then there is the RCF colony. There is the, all these. So a lot of these colonies kind of got in a lot of smart people, because, to get into RBI or BARC.
My sister is a very senior scientist in BARC.
So that's it, right? Yeah. So suddenly there was this concentration of smarter people.
Yeah.
That's what we think. That's our theory. But, So great. So you were a Chembur boy. You grew up here in Chembur. But at the age of 18, when, kids are, thinking about girls and foreign education, you decided to go to Varanasi to start training in a Vedic school.
Yeah.
What was wrong with you? This was the hippie time. This was what, late 70s, early 80s?
This is 79. I went in 79.
79 is when the hippie culture was there. Rock and roll was happening.
Bell bottoms. Discos.
Exactly, right? And
slip disc. I remember visiting slip disc.
So this was the time, where the young, and everywhere, right? All over the world, this was happening. But you decided to not go to Goa or Manali, but go to Varanasi or Devlali, but you go to Varanasi. What happened?
Right. So, like I was mentioning earlier to you, that most human beings, when they ask this question about what is the meaning of life, what is truth, what is reality, it is triggered by some kind of trauma. Somebody close to you dies or things happen, and then you start doing that. Now, in my case, it was already there. So, at age 14 or 15. My father was from Goa, and I still remember we used to have this strange custom that you stand in front of the goddess. We have goddess Shantadurga there, and you hold a question in your mind, and the pujari puts petals on around the goddess, and then after a couple of minutes, the petal that falls answers your question.
Oh, so it was like instant answer. You ask a question.
Will it happen? So the pujari then tells you that because this petal has fallen, you are likely to achieve your aim. So I still remember the question I held in my mind even then, I must be 15, was, will I ever know what truth is?
Wow.
Right. So it is just there. I mean, I don't think...
As a 15-year-old, that is not the question. I mean, if I was 15, I was thinking कि exam में कैसे pass हो सकते हैं, पैसे कैसे कमा सकते हैं, bike कैसे चला सकते हैं.
So in a way, I think then maybe it's just a gift or, it's already there. So by the age of...
and by the way, what did the petal tell you?
That it will happen.
Oh.
Yeah.
So now that you are confident that, the Devi has spoken.
Shantadurga
Devi, yes.
So then I was a voracious reader. On my 4th or 5th birthday, my dad got me 3 books. And the next day he went back to the bookseller and he said, I'm very sorry, he's got all 3 by heart. What do I do? So he said,
by heart.
Yeah. He'll eat you out of home and hearth. So you better subscribe to a library. But anyway, take these 3 new books with you. So I used to be a voracious reader. I used to finish entire authors at a go.
Boss, you won't believe the first time I may have read a book was maybe after college. उससे पहले book भी नहीं पढ़ा होगा.
Yeah.
I used to only reach 21 sets. Because before the exams, the 21 sets used to read the answer.
Give the answers to all the standard questions.
That was the only... So my theory was textbook खरीद के कुछ फायदा नहीं है. Directly 21 sets खरीदो.
Yes.
And at that time, you were by-hearting books.
Yeah. Wow. I think it came from my dad. Many influences from my dad.
And he's an artist and a renowned...
He was one of the best commercial artists in India.
Wow. So he came from Goa to Mumbai.
Yes. So there are 2 or 3 big things that were his influence. For instance, he became an artist. He was what we call an autodidact. He was self-taught.
Wow.
When he finally reached Metal Box, they said, this is fabulous. We have never seen anybody do such work with the spray gun. Where did you learn it? Which art school? He said, I haven't been to art school.
Wow.
So then he had to do an evening course from JJ just to have a certificate.
Wow.
So the question that was asked of him, where is your certificate? Many years later was asked of me, because when I went to Banaras, I didn't have a certificate.
Wow.
I didn't pass my college.
But again, right, I mean, so while we can call it God gift and other things, but, these things are not very common. I mean, I have not heard of, any kid at 15 reading Upanishads and I presume you read Gita and Bhagavad Gita and all these.
Even the Westerners, Immanuel Kant, Sartre, all of that. And remember that I understood nothing, which is why the J. Krishnamurti book was such a flash. It was like, something. So the whole notion that all of us have a stream of thought, but there is something called awareness, which is separate from that. The moment that thing happened, and I realized that was like it was jailbreak. It just opened me up to all kinds of
things. So you never had girlfriends?
Of course.
Oh, you
I had a normal adolescent life.
Yeah, I was like, oh God.
No.
ऐसा नहीं ना? Okay, then it's okay.
It's like
Okay.
There's an intellectual.
So, like, I
pursuit.
used to play volleyball. So, this was my hobby of, so you'll always find me in the field and all
Right,
of that. In
right.
your case, your hobby was reading all these
Yes, yes.
intellectual books. And
I was also, I was used to go to a local gymnasium. There was a gymnasium called Pavan Putra.
Pavan Putra.
Yeah. And I did Malkham, I did
And where was in
yoga.
camp, Sindhi camp? Where was
No,
this?
this was in a village called Ghatla.
Oh, Ghatla village. Of course, I know Ghatla village.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very forward thinking. So we did.
Ghatla village is behind OLPS.
Yes. So gymnastics.
A lot of smart people have come from Ghatla village for some reason. Wow. It's an amazing place.
So gymnastics, Malkham, weights, yoga.
They had a great cricket team. The Ghatla cricket team was also
that I wasn't. So I did a lot of this. I played a lot of Kho because that is what was in the.
Kho, of course. But after Mumbai going to Banaras, I mean, like,
right.
In my whole life, by the way, I went to Banaras only last year for the first time. It's that city
incredible.
Has so much energy. I went again. So this year I went to the Kumbh Mela, by the way.
Awesome.
So we were lucky to visit the Kumbh and we did the Kumbh Snan and then we again went back to Varanasi. And after that, you realize that, man, this is where civilization started, right?
Yeah. It's probably the oldest unbroken tradition on earth.
And I think one thing I realized is that this is a city where death and life is like, having chai and coffee. It is like, this is not, it coexists and it is like, things are happening. People don't care, I mean, it is like I said, chai and coffee.
Yeah. So that's the belief. So the belief about a tirtha, when you say tirthastan, the belief is that if you die in a tirthastan, the amount of time you have to spend till the next birth is shortened. That's why you want to die there. Because it's the most sacred city to die.
Wow. So basically people are trying to hack this also. That if I die, let's die here.
Yes.
So that
there were these two movies about that. There is a house where you go to die. You don't have to pay.
Yeah.
If you don't die in 2 weeks, then you have to leave. But
yeah. No, but it's amazing. And again, I realized that kings had set up their own ghats. So the ghats were like,
beautiful.
People were trying to colonize that this is my area and this is your area and this is where, so like.
If you go in winter, if you go from Varuna Ghat or up towards Assi Ghat, through the mist, these ghats rising is like a magnificent
view. The sunrise over there is so beautiful.
So I keep saying that it's the only city where you have two suns, one in the water and one in the sky.
No, you're absolutely correct. I have experienced this.
Because it's the only city on the Ganges which faces the east. Remember that?
Yeah. Ulti Ganga behti hai. And people who are listening to us here, that believe me, if you have not visited Varanasi,
please do.
You have missed something in life. Before your death, I mean, it's not about religion, it's not about...
Yeah.
It's about experiencing something unique. And I think there is a reason why people like Kiran go to, and every smart person you ask, they have all gone to Varanasi for some reason.
I ended up there for a different reason, not because of that. So when I had this moment of whatever you want to call it, then I wrote to, the back of the book had an address, and the address was in the US. So I wrote a letter, and they being...
This is Krishnamurti.
Yes. So those people wrote back to India, and the Indians wrote to me and said, go and meet this lady called Pupul Jaikar, who was the vice president of the foundation, because she is in Mumbai. So I went and met her, and she said, look, you haven't even finished your graduation. God knows what will happen in life. Why don't you finish your graduation, and then I'll make sure you go to Banaras. So the day I finished...
And which college did you go to?
I went to SIS.
Oh, okay. So I was again a little ahead of you. Podar. Thoda aage.
My sister was in Ruya.
Okay, yeah. Ruya and Podar are next to each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the day I finished my practical exams, I was waiting. I didn't even know how to get there. I had a friend whose father was in the railways. He said, catch 4 down to Calcutta, get off at Mughal Sarai, 2 rupees, you'll reach Banaras.
Wow.
And I stood there as I got in my dad asked, what are you going to teach? I said, I don't know. How much are they going to pay? I don't know. Where is it? I don't know.
That looks like a good plan. Just go.
Yeah. It was like there was Junoon. That's the only word. You're taken over by this dream.
No, but it's amazing, right? I mean, at that time, again, parents was ki engineer ban raha hai, doctor ban
Poor
raha hai.
chap. I mean, he was way ahead of his time. I mean, I
Yeah.
was supposed to enter medical school. I had got admission, more or less.
Wow.
But for him to squash that dream and not react to this,
And
he was
going
way
to
ahead.
Varanasi, he's like,
Yeah.
did he think that you are on drugs or something? Huh?
He had tremendous faith.
Okay.
Tremendous faith.
Wow.
So when
So are you from this? There is this particular community in Goa, right? Malvan, Ram. What is it called? The CKP or what was it called?
Chandrasena Kayastha Prabhu.
Yeah,
that is
sorry.
CKP.
Yeah.
No.
That's or there is a particular. They are also like very intellectual, right?
No,
Supposedly.
No.
No,
We are not.
this is just
Yeah.
because a lot of my friends who are from that are like
CKP. Yeah.
like CKP. We are
all
like
eat fish. And
Brahmins who eat fish. Yeah, that's how they are more popularly known.
So that's how I ended up going to Banaras.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Banaras that time, dirty, crowded, smelly.
The city.
The city.
But this campus is awesome.
So which
It
campus
has
is
two
this?
rivers. So Rajghat Besant School, which belongs to the J. Krishnamurti Foundation. So Krishnamurti's whole thesis was that if we want to change society, we ought to change the way schooling is done. And these schools have been around, Vishal, since 1927. Remember the amount of work they have done. There are schools all over the world. So
Any school in Mumbai? Do they have schools here?
No, there used to be one in Malabar Hill, but that was a primary school.
Mm-hmm.
So there are now 6 schools. One in Banaras, which is called the Rajghat. The more famous one, known to most people, is Rishi Valley, which is in Madanapalli, where he was born, next to that. There is schools in Chennai, there are schools in Bangalore. There is one here called the Sayadri School between Nasik and Pune.
Okay.
So that campus is utterly gorgeous because there are 2 rivers. There is the Ganges, which
and the
is
campus still exists, I presume.
Of course. It's doing great now. It's currently entirely solar powered.
Wow.
They have rejuvenated the forest near, and the other river called Varuna, from which Varanasi gets its name, that flows
Varuna and Assi, the 2 rivers who.
There are 2 theses. One is, say, Varuna and Assi, therefore Varanasi, but the more historically correct one is that Varanasi was much more north, and therefore it was near the Varuna. So the campus is 300 acres, and it has a farm aspect of it. It has, a lot of CSR aspect to it, and there is a school and a college. So that part was beautiful, and it is based on there is an old fortress there. So I used to take, sometimes surreptitiously, I used to take 1 or 2 fit boys to do rock climbing on those walls.
So rock climbing started already before that?
Yes, with Ruya.
Oh,
I went for a hike with my sister to Kalsubai, which is
that time. Today also Kalsubai is like the highest peak in Mumbai.
Highest peak. And I reached, I think, first or second, and I said, boss, this is something I really love. Now, what happens in Mumbai is that if you do trekking, then you normally do it in the monsoon.
Yeah.
And during the dry days, you do rock climbing. So that is how I got into rock. And I really loved it.
Wow. So there is this mountain climber and rock climber in you, and then there is this monk in you at the same time. Again, these are 2 different personalities, right? So, so they always existed, this yin and yang in you, right?
I love it. So I keep saying that I'm very passionate and very mediocre. But
mediocrely passionate.
Mediocrely passionate about rock climbing. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And so at the age of 18, you go to Varanasi.
I was 20.
At 20, you start teaching what subject?
Everything. They just wanted people who believed in Krishnamurti more than anything else. I was a published writer. I had published something in a newspaper or something like that. So they said teach English. So I taught English. I was a calligrapher. I had done calligraphy because of my dad. So I taught the entire school cursive handwriting. I had done gymnastics. So I taught them gymnastics.
How many students were there?
300. I had done some amount of judo. So I taught judo. I taught them swimming. There were 2 projectors. One of the school teachers, I remember his name, Damayan Kumar, very interesting person. He taught me to run the projector. So I discovered that all embassies give documentaries and films free to schools.
Oh.
So then there was an explosion of film
You
shows.
went to every embassy and said, Abhi meko.
Yes. All kinds of films the children watched.
Wow. But in Varanasi, was there any embassy or you used to go to Delhi or
Delhi. And they would come by train,
something?
send it back after 2 weeks after showing it.
Wow.
I had a ball. I was there for 4 years. It was just easily one of the most
So literally the
unforgettable.
prime of your youth, right? I
Yes,
mean,
20 to 24.
I mean, I'm just taking 18 because that's you were preparing to go there from 18.
Yes, absolutely. That is correct.
You end up in what people take sannyas. This is what people
Exactly,
do
yes.
when after they
It's-
say that
yeah.
this is like taking sannyas.
So I keep saying I'm living it backwards.
Yeah, so you started your life by taking sannyas.
Yeah.
Again, right, this is the rock and roll generation, and here you are a cool dude, rock climber, gymnast,
Yeah.
who's suddenly talking about seeking truth and finding the philosophy of life. But why Krishnamurti? I mean, there were other thinkers at that point of time. Why Krishnamurti?
He's the one with least dogma.
Mm.
There is no structure of thought that you have to believe in consciousness, super consciousness, you have to believe in karma, there is zero dogma. So he speaks in a language which is absolutely day to day.
For in today's era, how do you compare him to a Shri Shri or a Sadhguru or a Baba Ramdev? I mean, for people to understand the context today, right? Because we've heard about him, but I don't know what.
So one of my dreams is to get a feature film made on him.
Oh.
Because his story is an epic story.
Okay.
Should I tell you the story?
Yeah. If you can tell us in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yeah. So there is this society called Theosophical Society, which was started in the 19th century. And they have their own books and they have their own predictions.
Hmm.
So they had predicted that there will be a world teacher in the 20th century.
Wow.
And they had a gentleman called Leadbeater who was given the task of choosing the vehicle, choosing this person.
Mm-hmm.
And he found Krishnamurti on a beach in Chennai.
Mm-hmm.
His father used to work for the Theosophical Society. So Annie Besant adopted him, took him to the UK, and he was a normal person till his brother died. He had taken his brother with him. And then he went through all kinds of things. They had created a team of 43,000 people called the Order of the Star.
Wow. This sounds like a cult.
That's what I'm saying. There were 500 acres given to him in Holland with castles and things like that. And they said there will be a time when he'll come and he'll tell you the truth. So the opposite happened. There's a place called Omen in Holland. He went on stage, and even today I get gooseflesh when I read that speech. He said, truth is a pathless land and nobody can take you there. So I'm dissolving this Order of the Star. There was mayhem. Because those 40,000 people didn't know what to do because they were supposed to get their identity from this.
So this is way before Rajneesh then?
Way.
Oh.
And he gave away those 500 acres. Wow. So when you're asking me, so I have met many saints. My father used to meet one gentleman called Guloni Maharaj who was from Pune. There is a very famous gentleman called Nisargadatta Maharaj who used to be in the lanes of Girgaon. I've met him. And having observed and I've read somebody, so I have created my own 3 formulae for recognizing a true saint.
Wow, so you have a formula for recognizing saints. Guys, this is what we want, given that India is currently all these Babas who ruling us. We need to know, we need to decode this.
Yes. So first is, they never ever own anything in their name. Zero. Krishnamurti, we had to buy clothes for him because he never had money with him. There was nothing in his name.
I can already eliminate 3 saints from the list.
When he went from country to country, we had to say, keep this currency with you in case you need it.
Okay.
They never ever prescribe. They never say, eat veg, don't eat veg, have long hair, don't have long hair, get married, don't get married. Zero.
Well, we have saints who are prescribing you bottles and tails. So clearly that also eliminates them.
And the third is they never charge money for their wisdom. Never.
Well, you know the famous silence course for which you pay $300 per day. That was the most amazing marketing I have ever seen. You know, hats off to Shri Shri.
Yes.
You can make people pay you
Yeah.
money to be
So,
silent.
in my reckoning, Krishnamurti is in the history of mankind, is a person who has spoken about what he believed was truth.
But you know, it's amazing. Like I said, I've spoken to so many people. Not even once his name has come up. I'm surprised why. But you know, people have spoken
Sure.
about.
So I'm working with them on that. Exactly. You're absolutely right.
Not even one. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Yes. That is exactly why I said that my dream is to get a filmmaker made on it, because you don't even have to write the script. The script is there.
Yeah. No, I mean,
It's
more than, I mean, I
fascinating.
think it's good to, you know, at least the audience over here and the people I meet, we can talk about him, because like I said, everybody talks about, to a large extent, Osho, you know, and of course, while he had his grey side, but there were a lot of amazing things he did for the world. But Krishnamurti somehow has never. But again, the other person people talk about a lot is Autobiography of a Yogi, and that whole the Paramhans or
Paramahansa Yogananda.
Yeah, Yogananda.
Yeah.
So that's another.
Yeah. So I spent 4 years. I have to many people who now read his books. They say, "Oh my God, you met him." I said, "Yes, I had to walk with him because
you met Krishnamurti also."
Yeah. I walked with him. I've eaten with him. I've slept in a room next to his. All of that.
And that he was in India or UK? That was.
He was what is called as peripatetic. So he used to travel throughout India, then UK, then Europe, then US.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he would keep. So he would keep speaking in everywhere, and everywhere there are schools.
But when he said that there is no
truth is a pathless land.
Truth is a pathless
land.
So people said, now what? Now there is no truth. So why is there a need for a guru?
Correct. So he always said, I am not a guru.
Okay.
So even when I went there, I did not go to meet him, because he had already said that you have to follow your own path. Here are the ways in which you inquire about yourself. This is the way to inquire about yourself. So he was saying, there is a tool, you apply it, carry on. So initial years, he didn't even get photographed. He looked down upon people putting garlands on his photographs and things like that. Very little of that. Even when you go to the school, you will not see any of that.
Wow. But one very good thing happened, that your quest for truth was fulfilled. You found the answer.
Yeah, I mean, it is the process.
That it is the pathless land. So he said, let us go and jump into the great world of advertising.
Correct.
So,
no, both my parents were ill.
Okay.
And it wasn't right. One had cancer, one had Parkinson's. There was no way I could have avoided that responsibility. I was very close to my dad. Very, very. He was like my best friend.
Yeah.
So when I came back...
Amazing guy. I mean, like at that age, letting you go and pursue this is like
I mean, the things I learned from him, from observing him, were tremendous. For instance, independence. At age 13, he looked after the family.
Wow.
His entire family. Started working. So I also wanted to work. At age 15, I started... in the holidays, I did a research work. Or I went and... He used to do a few of the Amar Chitra Katha comics.
Wow. With Uncle Pai and...
Yes. So then I said, why don't I go, because I have good handwriting, go and write the comic book. So for a couple of months I did that.
Oh, so you wrote a lot of the Amar and Tinkle.
That little...
Supandi.
Yeah. His covers for... some of them are very beautiful. So one is independence. Second was the way he treated my mother. Was unbelievable. She was ill most of the time, but he never ever made us feel that there is anything wrong with that. He was the first who would wake up in the morning. My sister recently told me that he used to give her an honorarium. This is 1950s.
Wow.
Saying, look, you work as hard as I do. You should have some money for yourself.
Wow.
So those were things he really cared very little for what society said. So when people asked why has he gone there, he said he'll have to. He said, I'm very sure that whatever he does, he'll be the best at that. That's it. That was his answer.
Wow. Amazing confidence. Huh?
Yeah.
Amazing confidence. Yeah.
The Vishal Gondal Show will be right back after this break. Hello and welcome to a brand new and exciting week on IVM. We'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors, Storytel and Paytm Money. This week on Cyrus Says, author and poet Jerry Pinto talks to Cyrus about how Bombay has been a muse in his writing, his unique teaching style as a professor, his sleeper hit novel M and the Big Whom, and more. Also check out the special Q&A edition of Cock and Bull that we did with Cyrus, where me and Amit Doshi sat down and asked him a bunch of questions for an hour. It was a lot of fun. It's the 100th episode of the Pragati podcast. On this episode, the tables have turned. Pawan Srinath occupies the guest seat and Winona Laisram serves as the host. She talks to him about his last decade of working in public policy and recording 100 podcast episodes. On Business Next by Bloomberg Quint, Govindraj Ethiraj talks to the co-author of the best-selling book Fish, Harry Paul. They talk about the importance of a culture of excellence in an organization. On our brand new show, The Origin of Things, Chuck narrates a story of an industrious town, the effect of war and employee benefits before it was cool. Will you be able to guess the brand before Chuck reveals it? Listen in to find out. On What a Player, Akash, Mikhail and Siddharth analyzing the ongoing World Cup matches and also the trending topics of other sports. On Not Just Dhansak, Perzan talks to Vera Springett about how Parsis exchange food recipes online. On Keeping It Queer, Naveen and Farhad are joined by Mahima Kukreja, who led the bandwagon of the Me Too movement in India. They discuss the movement and its consequences. On Paperback, Satyajit and Racheta talk to Mansi Shetty, the founder of What Are You Reading Today, about her mood-based book recommendations. And with that, let's continue on with your show.
So at the age of 24, you came back then.
Correct.
You found out the truth.
So since I was writing comes as easily as breathing to me, I said when I came back, I had friends from college who had gone into journalism. So I could either go into journalism or advertising. And I thought advertising was better because I was already exposed to so much art. I used to paint at home. I used to draw at home, which is how I ended up in.
But wasn't advertising always had this negative thing, advertising was not really considered that time a serious career option. Right?
Yes.
Journalism definitely was,
yes.
But I don't think so advertising
so
was.
The same thing happened. The same mamas who said, why has he become a priest? They also came to my dad and said, we feel so sad. First he was a priest and now apparently he makes copies in courtrooms. So he said... My dad had to explain that copywriter does not mean
copywriter. Exactly, copywriter क्या होता है? मतलब उस time पे 1980s में.
Nobody would have known what is
even
a copywriter.
Today, I don't know many people understand what a copywriter does.
Yes.
They say word processing है तो copywriter की क्या जरूरत है?
So that was nice. Lintas at that time was really...
And how did you get a job at Lintas? And what was your deal? Like, normally they have Xavier's, communication, MBA, Balambe Bal, people are smoking and that whole...
No, because of Alec, there were so many of these talented actors and actresses there. I was surrounded by these good-looking men and women.
Exactly.
And here was this boy from Chembur with oiled hair and tight terracotta pants.
And
what are you doing?
Last job was
as a school teacher
in Varanasi, teaching people meditation and rock climbing.
So they used to have a copy test.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that copy test. And the reason, me being me, in that copy test I did visuals. I did not just write the copy, I drew the full ad.
Oh.
And then my father had a super boss called Hassan Taj, who had worked in Lintas.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad said, why don't you go and meet him? So I went to him and he said, what do you want? I said, no, I just want somebody to read my copy test and tell me whether it is good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
So he called up whoever there was in Lintas at that one time and said, this is my request, that there is this boy who has given a copy test. Can somebody check it? I got the...
Wow. So do you remember what was there in that test?
Of course.
What was it?
Oh, there were many things. There was, you were supposed to write a story. And I still remember, I wrote the story without picking pen up from paper.
Mm-hmm.
Full 6 pages of a story. Just flowing.
You could just keep writing a story.
Yeah.
Wow.
With a nice twist in it. And then,
wow.
Then you had existing ads of Citibank and then you write the 4th and the 5th in that series. That's when I drew the picture.
कि कि ये 3 ads आ गई हैं, इसके
अभी
next ad
चौथा क्या
है?
होगा? So
Wow.
I drew an ashtray
Wow.
and there was stops in it and said that, is this how your bank treats you?
Wow.
Why don't you try Citibank?
Wow. So the great Alec Padamsee, he recently passed away.
Yeah.
He is considered pretty much the father of Indian advertising from a creativity
Yes.
is what he kind of.
Yes.
So did he end up being your first boss?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He had the trick because it wasn't very big at that point in time. He had the trick of working with a person directly, creative person directly, and sussing out for himself whether he was good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that Alec was easily the best television thinker or film thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is a twist in advertising. When an ad is released in a newspaper, there is something called a key number, where the advertising agency's name
नाम
appears.
आता है so नीचे left में
So all clients who read that ad know who has done
किसका
it.
है.
But if it is in cinema, because that time cinema was big, cinema or TV, nobody knows. So in a way, even though Alec was the best thinker in film because he was trained in London, nobody knew this. What people knew was agencies like Rediffusion, which had big ads in their number up. So he took me under his wing, taught me how to write scripts, how to give them the twist. We used to meet at his home, meet in his car, all those kind of things.
Wow.
So obviously I passed the test and then got to work on Surf. Because
Surf की खरीदारी में ही समझदारी है.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers that iconic line.
I haven't written that line, but what happened was Lintas was about to lose Surf account. And Alec worked out a beautiful arrangement. He got 2 people to sit in one room for 7 days non-stop, come up with lots of concepts. And we got one international creative director to come. And he was one of the key guys who his name was Maurice Drake. He was the one who pushed this idea that you needed this kind of a cutting edge thing for Surf. And then Alec and he together, and there was another person called Usha Bhandarkar, who was my immediate boss. She was also tremendous learning from her. I mean, if Alec taught me that there is no replay button in real life, then she taught me to be grounded.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there is no replay button in real life. That's
he used to rehearse everything. I remember we had one very challenging work where we were presenting to the Export Council in Delhi. And I showed him all. We had 4 campaigns and he loved all of them. And he said, now go, I have to practice. So at 2 a.m, he was standing in front of a mirror and practicing.
How to deliver this
How
campaign.
to present, yes.
Wow. I mean, Steve Jobs, the keynotes we all see.
This is why they are so good.
Keep training and, keep getting the finish out. So you go from trying to find truth, then you find truth and then there is no truth. And then you go into advertising, which is all trying to twist the truth and present something.
Very well put.
Trying to present truth because you heard truth to koi hai nahi.
Correct.
So there is no point on trying to present something truthfully. So advertising was the best career for you.
Yeah. Right? Because of the writing. I think because I could write well.
No, but
I had other advantages. One is I could understand art. I could speak 3 languages. I could create in Marathi, Hindi, all of that. So those are advantages.
No, but my point is that again, right, this is the time when advertising itself was getting born. There was nothing.
Yes.
Early days of Doordarshan, early days of television, early days
television
of everything.
Was 82.
82, okay.
Okay, because 82 was your
Asian
that
Games.
Is when that thing exploded.
Yeah.
So 82 is when the era of English copywriters ended, or the start or the end began there. Because television does not have language.
Exactly.
Right, it is 2 words or 3 words. So if you look at people like Piyush Pandey, they were the ones who rode that wave of television. Because your thinking for television is totally different, which is exactly what's happening now. Because thinking for digital is totally different.
Yeah, forget words. You have 1 second to communicate in a meme.
Right. Absolutely right.
So you're thinking of a very different kind of communication. So Lintas was in Mumbai, but then you went to Calcutta.
Yes, I became creative head of Calcutta 86 to 88, where I hired my wife to be wife.
Okay. And this is Lintas Calcutta.
Lintas Calcutta. Yes.
But Calcutta mein kya hota tha? There's only one company I understand, ITC, who's still there. Like, what was there in Calcutta?
There were enough at that point. There was Berger. ITC was, we won ITC while I was there. We had Berger, we had Polar Fans. Polar Fans was a big advertiser. There was Skitply. So we had this right mix of promoter-driven companies and multinationals.
In Calcutta. Wow. And I remember that, Calcutta was always considered at a very prestigious posting for advertising, especially.
Yes.
If you
HTA was big there. HTA was probably the Calcutta office of HTA, which means JWT. Was probably
Hindustan
the
Thompson
hottest,
Associates, yeah.
So it was a big thing for me because I had been in business only for 3 years. To go and lead an office was big.
So I know this might sound a little strange. How did you find dealing with capitalism? Because before this, you were all, socialist, communist, all world is equal, no money is required for anything. So this was now you are entering the hard world of hardcore
but
capitalism.
I don't think I saw myself in any particular stream. So even when I had gone to Krishnamurti, it is not that I'm rejecting this other world. I'm perfectly okay the way you want to live. I really, even today, I rarely look outside. I said, boss, this
But
is the
when
way.
you started your job at the ashram in Varanasi, I doubt they paid you anything for that.
They paid. It was not ashram. It was a proper residential school.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a residential school. It has the central board exams. So it's a full-fledged school.
Okay.
It is different in the sense that you teach more through observation and less through rote.
Okay.
There are no exams. There is zero capital punishment. Not
That's
capital
why-
punishment, zero punishment.
That's why I call it ashram, right? Because school is about ragda maro,
Yes,
pado,
yes.
exam do,
True.
pass ho.
True.
This is not this was a very
There is a lot of emphasis on observation of nature, observation of your own emotions, observation of human behavior.
But so I have two boys, 14 and 10. And if you ask them, तुमको life में करना क्या है? You know what their answers are? They all want to be billionaires. Not millionaires also. Billionaires directly. And how will they do it? They all want to be famous on YouTube. Or they want to be a footballer, or they want to play games. So the point is that nobody wants to, at least I have not met any kids of, this age who are trying to seek truth and trying
No, but
to...
I have. I have.
You have?
In fact, yeah. In fact, after this little YouTube thing that happened with Ranveer, I've got lots of youngsters coming and meeting me from as far as Delhi.
Ooh, that's amazing.
Somebody's come from Raipur.
Wow.
These are all youngsters who are saying, we need to do that. So, Vishal, I think it is, I'll tell you, I have this, let me take a little digression. And it's my favorite story, class 7. God created Earth, and then after a month, he called one of his assistants and said, okay, listen, I've created this new species called human beings. Just go down and tell me what percentage are happy. Then that guy went for research. Then he called another guy and said, go down, I've created this species called human beings. Go down and find out what percentage is unhappy. So after a month, assistant number 1 came and said, sir, 90% are happy. Then the other guy came and said, sir, 90% are unhappy. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you look, for instance, this beautiful web page called The Better India, then you'll see
only good stories. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it is your frame of mind.
Correct.
What you think is what you seek.
Yeah.
So my favorite quote for this is, or my favorite incident is that whenever you're trying to buy a car or a vehicle, you'll suddenly start spotting that in the road.
Correct.
It has happened to me all the time.
Absolutely.
And it has happened to a lot of people I've spoken to, that if you are trying to buy this new Mercedes C-Class, suddenly on the road you will only start seeing that car, and your brain will automatically, you will see it in the signal. You'll suddenly feel ye itni sari gaadiyan kahan se aa gayi.
Yeah. So to me at that point in time, this job was my ticket to looking after my parents, looking after my father, because Parkinson's takes up a lot of care.
Got it.
You have to have the right people and all of that.
So you moved to Calcutta, you get married in Calcutta itself, or you came back?
No, came back here. So we got married in Calcutta and here.
Okay. And she was from Calcutta.
Yes.
Or she's from Calcutta, sorry.
Yeah.
And now they moved here also.
She's moved here.
And from Lintas, how did Clarion happen?
So I had become the creative head of one part of Lintas, and Clarion said, why don't you become the national head of Clarion?
And Clarion was this large advertising agency.
It was the oldest big format. There are smaller other older agencies.
And this was the time when the agency used to do everything. Ad banana, ad place karna. Abhi aisa nahi ki media agency,
correct,
creative
studios.
Agency.
I mean, they had their own photographers who shot in those studios or shot outdoors, and then they processed everything. Huge. So they had their media department, they had their studios, they had event management. So one of the floors in Calcutta for Clarion was so high, you could build an entire exhibition there. Wow. And show it to the client. See, this is how it's going to look. It was a large format agency. It was the only Indian agency. It was the only agency where every single employee had shares, their own shares. And one of the reasons why it went down was this constant fight between the union and the management and the board and all of that.
Yeah. But you always, I don't know, you always consider that part as your biggest failure for some reason. And again, you are coming from a school of thought that there is no truth. So there is no right and no wrong. So there is nothing which is a success or failure. So why do you consider that as a failure?
Not failure as saying my failure but so what you're saying is everything was right. We had some of the best, what do you call, accounts. We did SR, a positive attitude. We did Philips of a mind-blowing thing. We were doing fabulous work in Delhi, in Bangalore, and Calcutta. ITC, we had huge ITC. We did a lot of work on Goldflake. And I wasn't mature enough or I wasn't financially savvy enough to manage that aspect, which is an internal aspect. Today, if you'd asked me, would I have been able to do it? Yes, easily. Because I have greater understanding of what is cash flow, what is receivables, what is deliverables, all of that. So there is, let's say, wistfulness or sadness that something so valuable suddenly went down.
So traditionally in advertising, people either came from the creative background, NID or movies, or
correct,
that was one thing, or they came from the management, MBA,
yes,
who used to come into advertising.
Yes.
You were again a very, very different
wrong
person.
Side of the tracks.
You know,
yes.
You were like coming into advertising. How did you cope up in this industry, and what were your challenges? Did people say, "Inko kya samjhega?"
No, this is again, I think, what we call deceptive echo chamber. There is no such thing. I mean, there are several oddballs in advertising there are people who will work only from 9 to 5. There are people who will work only late night. There are people who will stay away and then come back with a great idea. It accommodates all kinds of people. So it was nobody ever said, "Oh, you stick out like a sore thumb." All they were interested in, does he deliver? Can he write? Can he think? Can he ideate?
Yeah, because it was a very high stress job, right?
Absolutely.
Because campaign banana hai, kal ad launch ho raha hai, aaj ye nahi hai, wo nahi hai. Tape jaane wala hai Doordarshan
Execution,
ko.
Absolutely. Execution. That is, I think, one of the best things that we learned from Alec. That execution is key.
But Alec was always in Mumbai.
Alec was always in Mumbai.
So you used to keep shuttling between Mumbai and Calcutta.
For 2 years.
But when you joined Clarion,
86 to 88.
When you joined Clarion, how did that impact your relationship with Alec? It's like you're now competing together.
He was, yeah. I made a statement which he didn't like. And in hindsight, I must not have made that statement because Lintas was always called the strategic high command. That they were very good at strategy.
Okay.
And he had got in another great called Kersi Katrak, who actually ended up being a very good friend of mine. Kersi Katrak used to run a famous agency called MCM many years before. And I was interviewed when I left. And I said it is like giving up strategy is like putting lipstick on a gorilla and passing him off as a ballerina. So that Alec called me upset and he shouldn't have said that. I said, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that."
It sounds really very good. Yeah. So, but you became rivals, literally, right? Because Clarion and Lintas, I think you were always competing on all the big brands.
Not really.
Not really?
There are enough. All top 10 compete.
Okay.
There is nothing direct.
Okay.
So there are some traditions where somebody who has left the agency goes back to the people with whom he has had a good relationship, the clients, and then pitches. All that I didn't do.
So in today's era, it is said that the creative guys dominate advertising. So Prasoon, Piyush.
Correct.
These are all the heads of agencies. There was a time when the head of agency was not really the creative guy. It was always the business guy. The business guy.
Yeah.
Your era was the business era or the creative era? When
business.
The business guys used to run.
In fact, I remember somebody asked Alex that, how come there is no creative person in your management committee?
And what did Alex say?
They are normally irresponsible.
They can't be taking financial decisions. They are on weed every time. They are. No, that was a big shift, right?
So I think in 1977 was the year when the maximum number of IIM Ahmedabad graduates joined advertising.
Exactly. IIM Ahmedabad and all these guys were advertisers.
Lintas had a big chunk of them. So the client and the agency were peer group.
कि इसको ही बेचना है, इसको ब्रांड मैनेजर को कौन समझाएगा? अरे मैं समझाऊंगा यार.
Correct.
हमने क्लास में यही तो सीखा था.
So now you realize that, as I have this phrase called that the human mind is the most expensive real estate on earth. And now you have everybody vying for that real estate. And that's why you need to be creative. This strategy, you can't even have strategy because there are many things that have changed. One of the big differences now with social media and all of that happening and technology being cheap is that your competitor comes from unexpected sources.
Yep.
So you are very happy running a hotel chain and then Airbnb comes.
No, I mean, I believe our competitor is not even a company. Like for Goki, when I say who's our competition is laziness. So the reason people stop using us is not because they suddenly started using another product or went to the gym.
They just opted out.
They are just lazy.
Yeah.
So we are not fighting going to another brand.
Correct.
What we are fighting is
very well said.
Human laziness.
Absolutely.
And by the way, who's Netflix competitors? They have identified this. They are competing with sleep.
Yes.
So their point is the only reason people stop watching Netflix is because they have to go to sleep.
Even chewing gum. Chewing gum has gone down the tube because people are now using selfies and their
mobile phones. Boredom is killing boredom, right? Yeah. Chewing gum was bore ho rahe, chewing gum kha ke.
So there are many things that so you can't even rely on a strategy that will last you for any length of time. So you are now relying much more on the ability to come up with a thought that engages people.
So while all this was happening, you wrote your first book.
Yes, 2003.
2003.
Because 99 when I started Chlorophyll, I had a sense of independence, right? Now I'm on your own.
So Clarion shut down. Or
Clarion didn't get shut down. It got bought over by Bates.
Okay, Bates. Okay.
That was 99.
99. Yeah. So after that, you decided that now I need to move to Mumbai from...
No, I was in Calcutta only for 86 to 88.
Okay. Clarion, you were here. You were here itself.
Yeah.
And then you decided to start up Chlorophyll.
Yes.
Why the name Chlorophyll?
Interesting. So one of the things I was very clear was that we weren't going to be an ad agency. We would be a brand consultancy. And one thing for a brand, for a consultant, you must first practice what you preach. So one of the things we used to tell our clients we had decided we would tell our clients is that you need to have 2 or 3 things on which the brand should be based. And then everything else should come out of that. The name should come out of that. The logo should come out of that. The way you behave should come out of that. So we had put down efficiency, creativity, and not drawing attention to ourselves. Efficiency, because I was very clear that I didn't want a large, even today after 20 years, we are just 30 people. Always wanted a small. Creativity, because without that you can have nothing. And not drawing attention to ourselves. So we said we will not put ourselves first. Our work will speak, our clients will speak, etc. So we have never ever, for instance, entered for any awards because we don't believe in that. So the first name we thought of was salt. Salt is phenomenally efficient.
Okay.
The smallest error and husband and wife or wife and cook will fight. But it's not very creative. Now, because I was an organic chemistry graduate, I knew...
Organic chemistry bhi tha. Oh God, I forgot that part of you. Oh God.
That's why I thought of chlorophyll. Because chlorophyll apparently is one of the most efficient molecules on Earth. Even when a single photon falls on it, it starts photosynthesis.
That's how the plants...
Correct.
Yep.
And creativity means joining two things and creating a totally new one, which is what it does. Carbon dioxide, water, life, everything comes out of that.
But again, you created this new animal, right? Brand consulting company, because advertising agency pehle tha.
Correct.
And I remember this was the time when Wipro had this new sunflower logo.
Yes.
And people told me that they have spent some $1 million in making this logo. And I was like, what the crap? I'm sorry, I don't know if they used that logo.
I agree. But...
And the thing said applying thought. I said, who applied thought to this? But the only reason that campaign was talked about is because they paid some consultancy company $1 million at that time.
Absolutely.
And there was some French or pata nahi kahan se
He's a Bengali.
Oh, Bengal. Not from India.
But he lives in France.
Okay, he lives in France. So they paid a Bengali from France to plant a sunflower ke upar rainbow, right? That's what was the thing.
Absolutely.
And I remember seeing that campaign and I was like, why would Wipro pay?
Yeah.
So you were trying to basically compete with them at that point of time. They were like this brand consulting company.
Correct. So most brand consultants are award-winning, very good designers who have become brand consultants. In our case, that wasn't the starting point. We didn't have any award-winning designers starting Chlorophyll.
So like, I don't know if a lot of people know Yves Bihar as the fuse cell project. He's the guy who designed Jawbone and a lot of other consumer things in Silicon Valley.
Right. So that's this. Our DNA is different. It's not about design. So there are quite a few. So if you think of a design company, their end product, the outcome of what they do is a design. There are a lot of projects we have done where the output is sheer strategy, brand strategy.
Oh.
So when
can you give an example of that?
Yeah, Tata Motors truck division, when they came to us, they said, look, just 5-10 years ago, we were a duopoly. Above this, India's was us. Below was Ashok Leyland. Now suddenly there are 12 competing brands. We have 60% market share. The Japanese have landed, the Swedes have landed, the Chinese have landed up. How do we retain market share? We spoke to some 2,500 fleet owners, drivers, mechanics, all of those. I actually drove with a truck driver from Pune to Mumbai. It took 8 hours and watched what he was doing when he waited at there was no GST then. When he was waiting, Octroi, what did he do? All of those things to understand this animal. And then we came up with a strategy which was finally boiled down to one single line. And then we had to activate that. So we sat with their cross-functional teams and said, look, if you follow this strategy, these are the changes that have to be done.
And what was the strategy change you did?
Fundamentally, not see yourself as a trucking company, but as a company that lubricates business. Because the new, if you look at the new age fleet owners, that's what they do. They don't worry about isme oil dala ki nahi. They're looking at, I have 100 trucks. How do I make the maximum money out of it? What about waiting time? What about what kind of tires do I have? So they have a much more longer term vision about their business. So this brand should now reflect those truths.
And your first book was then on what? You were briefly mentioning about.
It is a book of fiction. It's called Halfway Up the Mountain. Halfway Up the Mountain means mediocre.
The mediocre genius.
Medius ocris.
Okay.
Medius ocris means halfway up the mountain.
Okay.
So there what I'm positing is that we normally mistake talent for creativity.
Talent is different, creativity is different.
Right. So Picasso taught us a new way of looking at, invented cubism, which means you could look at a person and see what is at the back of his head or whatever it was. That cubism said it's a new way of looking at reality. But as a human being, he was very destructive. Right? he had, I think, 6 wives or 6 partners. 2 of them committed suicide, 2 went mad, and so on and so forth. So that's the whole point. And it was based on this very beautiful shloka which I learnt in Rajghat.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Manobuddhya Hankara Chittani Naham, which is a 6-verse song by Adi Shankaracharya.
Wow.
So
And what does this mean?
So it means what is the nature? I'm neither mind nor intellect, Manobuddhya Ahankara Chittani nor consciousness. So then who am I? It's a beautiful, very strong song.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the book, there is this young girl whose father knows he is going to abandon her
Mm-hmm.
when she's 9. And he feels that the only thing that can stand her in good stead is this shloka,
Wow.
this song. So he keeps teaching her that song. And as she grows up, as other men abandon her husband, her son goes off to study music, how she evolves and she learns the truth of that shloka.
Wow.
It was first. Then in 2007, I wrote 2 pronouns and a verb. 2 pronouns and a verb means I love you, I hate her, she loves me, or who am I, which is the same thing again. But that was based on Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, you have 3 psychosomatic constitutions, Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
Yeah.
And each one, when you are one of those, the way you remember things, the way you see things, which sense is predominant, how you dream, all of it is different. So there are 3 kids who grow together, 1 girl and 2 boys. And there is a lot of twist in the story. So as they grow up, how they perceive the world.
But why did you not write a book on advertising or branding?
That's coming in August.
That's coming in. Okay. So what is that book
August.
about?
That's about branding in India. There are many strange things about branding in India because of the conditions we have. So I was telling you earlier about this entire thing of that the ear in India is more important than the eye. Right? We trust our ear much more. Nobody ever enters a long distance train without asking the TC. In Nagpur ja raha hai ki nahi? Because it is written there.
जब तक मैंने सुना नहीं ये ठीक नहीं है.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for instance, it's very strange. It can happen only here. So we had this brand called 501. Okay. It's a blue bar. It was taken over by levers from Tata Oil Mills, from Tomco. It's a, blue
कपड़े धोने के लिए.
Yes. And in English, you written 501. Okay. But on television, what do you do? Do you, when you're finally saying the brand name, do you say 501 or do you say Ainati Unna, which is, or you say 501 or you say 501 in Gujarati, in Marathi, in Hindi? Because how does the consumer remember it? With the eyes or with the ears? And why does he have to remember by the ear? Because the consumer, she has to go to the shopkeeper
and say.
Exactly. So we had to say that in those many languages.
Yeah. And I remember this, and I'm sure you know this when this car was launched, the Palio.
Yes.
So the funny thing is my father-in-law, who's a Punjabi, so he actually used to call it polio. They said, polio gaadi kaun si hai? Then I realized that whichever idiot has decided to call that brand Palio in India did not know that most people will call it polio. Because polio was such a popular campaign that everybody could only recall. So even when I look at that car, no wonder it didn't do well at all. Because the last thing you want to do is call your car polio.
Yeah. So there are many such pictures. So the book has most of that in it, even though it has also stuff which is about how social media has changed branding, how the millennial generation has changed branding. So there are all of that. August.
So you were also involved in creating one of the other most iconic brands which every Indian has experienced, which is Aadhaar.
Yes.
I think it is possibly the world's biggest database of people. There are many good things about Aadhaar. Of course, there are certain things which needs to change. But how was that, and how did you work with the government to come a strategy for that?
No, it is easily one of the 2 or 3 big satisfactory moments in life to be involved. It was a very small involvement, but still to be involved in something so big, So one of the things you learn from the government is they are not afraid of scale.
Mhm.
To them, 100 crores and all is nothing.
Yeah.
And they say it is possible because they've done it so many times. So Nandan I knew from Infosys because I had done work for Infosys.
Mhm.
So he created this team of 5 people along with his own team. And I was, willy-nilly, for some reason, the chairman. And we created the strategy, the
Mhm.
communication strategy, because there would be many people who would be cascading it across India.
Mhm.
And part of that communication strategy went online as a brief for the logo. The name had come from a farmer in Rajasthan.
Farmer in Rajasthan.
Because when the concept was explained to him, he said, "Ye to hamari zindagi ka aadhar hoga."
Mm.
And then we all sat together and we got about 2,500 logos all over the world. We brought it down to 6.
And the reason Aadhaar word was chosen over other names was there
Because one of the peculiarities in India is when you choose a proper noun, the Sanskrit-based languages and Tamil don't match.
Mm.
This is one of the few words where Aadhaar can support in Tamil and in Malayalam or Marathi or Bengali.
Wow, that I didn't know that.
Yes. It's a very unique word.
Wow. So at one end, your entire brand and entrepreneurial journey as a CEO is going on. You parallelly have this spiritual journey. So you've been going to
Vipassana.
all the Tirath Sthans and
No,
Vipassana.
I don't go to Tirath.
No, I mean, you were
Vipassana. I do
Vipassana.
Yeah.
So how has that been now become part of your life? So
That's me, the individual.
But Vipassana you do every day, right?
Every day an hour, yeah.
But do you also go to the retreats where you are like doing 30-day Vipassana?
You can't do, you have to learn at least once for that 10 days. So I have been thrice, but I do it every day now.
So how do you basically keeping quiet for an hour? Is that what it is, or?
No, it is first, I think you observe your breath and then you observe your body. So it very simply, it is, if you look at it, your mind is where your body is. I mean, most of us, most of the time, if you're sitting somewhere, your mind is drifting into the past or the future.
Exactly.
I will do this. I will do that. She did this. She did that. It is never where your body is. So when you sit for Vipassana means to see in detail. Pashya means to see in Sanskrit. Vipassana is to see in great detail.
And out of all the other techniques, right, why did you zero into Vipassana? Exactly
the same reason as J. Krishnamurti. No dogma. You don't have to believe in a guru. You don't have to believe in a conceptual system. This fellow is a yogi. These are the 5 precepts of yoga. All you're saying is, sit here quietly and I'll tell you what's going to happen tomorrow.
The other person who suddenly made Vipassana very, very popular is Yuval Noah Harari, and he talks about it in his book 21 Lessons.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite books. And again, I was surprised that, at one he's talking about artificial intelligence and bots and how the world is going to end, and suddenly he says...
He does a hell of a lot. He does 2 months.
Two months. But I think more importantly, what I realized was that how people are saying that the ultimate solution to save the world is Vipassana. So how would you explain that to somebody?
See, it is, what is Yuval saying? He's saying that it lent him tremendous clarity. And one of the ways I try to explain is that because you are sitting there without reacting to pain or pleasure, that's what you're doing when you're sitting. You're not reacting, you're not moving, if you have a sense of pain, you just become aware of it. If you have a sense of pleasure, you just become aware of it. It slows down and shows you all the starting points of everything that you suffer from. So my analogy is when you watch cricket and you have a decision to be made, whether you have a sneakometer or you have whatever, fundamentally you slow the whole action down. As the ball comes, then did it touch, etc. The same thing happens in your brain. Instead of reacting to everything, oh my God, here's this traffic jam. Oh my God, again she has called me. Oh my God. That whole thing gets dismantled. It becomes much slower. Therefore, it gives great clarity.
So the way I put it is that you need to get latency in your life.
Beautiful.
So the problem of us is we all want to take quick decisions.
Yes.
It's about, let's take, quick decisions
Yeah.
right now. So when I do meditation, my whole goal is, can I get 0.01 second latency
Absolutely
between
right.
thought to action?
Absolutely
If
right.
you can get that latency,
Some of the biggest organizations, even in Silicon Valley now, spend hours on mindfulness.
absolutely, yeah. No, latency is really, and I think the problem in today's world is that, you think that every problem is a nail and every person
Correct.
has a hammer.
Yes.
And, that's what we are trying to do.
Yeah. I think a little bit of humility helps. That I don't know. See, one of the great things was that when I went to Banaras, one of the things they told me was that here, as a teacher, you're allowed to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
You should tell the truth. That if somebody asks you, you say, I don't know. And let's find out together.
Saying that I don't know is a problem, right? That's
Yeah.
what people think, that,
Yes.
they think that everything,
In my role as a teacher, how
Yeah.
can I say I don't know?
Yeah. for me, everything is a nail and I have a hammer and I can strike it every time.
Solve the problem.
I can solve the problem.
Instantly.
The reality is you can't.
The Vishal Gondal Show will be right back after this break.
Hey Krupa, check out my beatboxing. Boots and cat and boots and cat
man,
and
please
boots
stop.
and cats. Alright, check out my singing.
No, I'm serious, stop.
But why?
Because you're genuinely bad and because you've got actual talent to showcase. Presenting the ATKT Talent Time podcast, where I, Krupa,
An IP man, chat with some immensely talented college students about the fun part of college, like freshers' life, the music and poetry scene, side hustles for college students.
and the not so fun like weird dress codes, hostel deadlines, and ragging.
New episodes every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast app, the IVM Podcast website, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. Hey Krupa, check out my poetry. Roses are red,
No.
violets
No,
are blue.
no.
You are special.
Please stop.
So there is the spiritual side in you. There is this entrepreneur, creative genius. Now, how do you marry this with adventure like rock climbing? I mean, you're always on the edge. You are like, like this is like the highest adrenaline sport with the most risks involved. Recently we had
Alex Honnold.
the guy, the Swiss guy, right?
One is Alex Honnold, who did El Capitan free. He climbed without any rope.
No, but the other guy who died at on
Uli
Everest.
Steak.
Yeah,
Uli Steak.
Uli Steak.
He was the fastest climber.
Yeah, he was called the
Swiss machine.
The Swiss machine, yes, the Swiss machine, and he could like climb
There
Everest.
is also Downwall. Downwall is available on Netflix. You should watch that.
Exactly. So
You're
I'm
fine.
saying that like
But let me tell you, contrary to belief, when you are climbing, you cannot have adrenaline. Your diaphragm will shut down. So most of the time, in critical situations, you are dialing down your breathing.
yeah, actually, you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But
And the one I'm doing, I don't take any risks. So the one I'm doing, I'm always protected by a rope. I don't do free, except for a boulder. So one of the high points, I think the 2 or 3 high points in my life was the satisfaction of facilitating the World Cup in bouldering in India 2 years in a row.
yeah, in Navi Mumbai, Goregaon,
Yeah,
Navi Mumbai. Yes, I've heard about
And
it.
they were both voted the best of that year.
Wow. Is there another event happening anytime soon?
Now, not now.
Okay.
That was just amazing. The amount of, I have never asked for money from anybody. For that 3 months, I was like a beggar. I would, at any party, I would just pull out this thing and say, please help. We need money to have the World Cup.
Okay.
And it went off beautifully.
Wow.
And it is now in the Olympics, by the way.
Wow, bouldering is part of Olympics.
No, world rock climbing.
Oh, rock
So
climbing,
all
sorry.
3 disciplines.
Mm.
There is speed, there is lead, and there is bouldering. All 3 are part of
So can
Olympics.
you give us a 30-second gyan on this whole sport of? I know not many people know about it in
Yeah.
India, especially.
Yeah.
In
It
US,
is-
I have gone to many rock climbing
Yes,
walls. They're in every
yes.
city.
It is easily the fastest growing sport on earth.
Mhm.
The competition is for 3 disciplines. Bouldering means, I think it's about, I might be wrong, but it's about 15 feet, 15 to 20 feet. There is no rope or anything. There is something called a crash pad below. And it's extremely complicated movements, very difficult. You have to climb that and then you jump off. There is no rope protection.
And how do you know who's the winner of this?
the fastest. Not only fastest, out of say 6 routes, if you have finished all 6, because most people can't finish all 6. They are extremely difficult moves, and you have only a minute to figure out how to do it.
Got it.
That is bouldering. Then there is speed climbing. So you are attached to a rope, and there is about 40 feet distance. Both people start at the same time. Whoever reaches the top first is speed. You should see it. They climb in 3 seconds, 6 seconds. I mean, they climb faster than people run. That's speed. And then there is lead, where again it's a difficult thing, but as you go up, you put your protection by yourself. So you put the rope into the piton as you go.
So you keep going up.
Absolutely.
So that's like actually climbing a mountain,
Yes.
right? That's how you, because
So
typically
lead, speed, and bouldering. Those are the 3 disciplines.
And right now, where are the world champions coming from?
Unfortunately, what has happened was that each one had a specialist. So they now have to learn the others. Those who are very good at lead had not practiced speed. I think the greatest speed guys are from Russia. Lead climbers are from Japan. I don't know about bouldering.
India का कोई chance है Olympic medal इसमें जीतने का?
No. जीतने का नहीं. I think even qualifying is different. See, we don't even have a body dedicated to rock climbing in India. We have
हमारे यहाँ कोई rock दिखा तो उसको पहले तोड़ के उधर मिल बना के मतलब mining चालू हो जाएगा, right? Every time I pass through Navi Mumbai, सर ये इधर एक mountain था, इसको तोड़ क्यों रहे?
Finished, yeah. But we have some of the best climbers. I mean, Hampi, Badami, the whole world lands up there.
Maharashtra has so many forts.
Yeah.
I mean, I have been to a few of them, not all of you like the big ones, but there is the Kalavantin Durg.
We have 450 plus.
In Maharashtra, I mean, like folks in Mumbai, just a few hours from the city, you have the best trails, the best climbing locations. It's just that we have never gone beyond Lonavala.
Yeah.
You know, people are just, they go to Lonavala.
And now it's very easy because Google Maps tells you exactly where to go.
No, absolutely, right? I mean,
it's magical. I mean, if you see the photographs I have of all the mountains, all the hills and the forts that I've climbed, it's magic.
No, and I think the point is that, this whole trekking and mountain climbing as a sport was never promoted because, again, the perception of risk, and of course, in your case, it is not an unreal perception. You have had a 40 feet fall, my friend.
Yes.
It is all your devis and all the gods and all the spirituality which has put a cushion under you, right? How was that?
Oh, God.
That was like
see, when you're young, you're immortal, right?
Yeah.
I was
bulletproof. Yeah,
bulletproof. So that was, I think, when I was 18 or 2021 maybe. Yeah. So we had gone to Mumra, and I still remember that one moment before I slipped. I could see the train. This was at Mumra. I said, "Oh, it's looking like a matchbox."
So Titwala is also somewhere there, right? No, Mumra के आगे कौन सा है?
No, Mumra is on the Karzat side.
Okay, Karzat side. Sorry, Mumra is different. I'm getting confused.
Titwala, I think, would be towards Kasara.
Yeah.
So, and the way I calculated the distance was, I said, I won't say those words here, but I said, effing B, hold it man, to my friend who was holding the rope. And he saved my life.
Oh.
Because he held on to the rope even though it was cutting his hand. So it kind of cushioned what finally happened. But
it broke the fall, basically.
I mean, I cratered, what is called as cratered, which means I hit the ground with force, but we had something called an overhang, which means you're going around a rock. If he hadn't held that rope tight, I would have turned upside down and hit my head. That didn't
You
happen.
fell on your bump
back.
On your bump at the back, yeah. Wow, that is... But उसके बाद में लगा नहीं कि boss ये mountain climbing बहुत हो गया, huh?
No, and the doctor said, I don't know what you eat because there is nothing. There is nothing showing in the X-ray.
No, but it is a dangerous sport. I mean,
not really.
I mean, this is what everybody says, but right? I mean,
very
mountain
few.
climbing, एक हाथ निकल गया and थक
See, mountain climbing is different. That in rock climbing, there are not too many variables.
The height is not that.
Height is there.
Hmm.
All these guys were climbing 3,500 feet without any rope. But in mountain climbing, the variables are too many. The weather changes, all of
Okay. So, some are in control, but still, like I said, it is a risky sport. Yeah, but knowing you don't think it is risky, but that's fine. That's how you are. While all this was happening, you also ended up doing some other very interesting things, especially on the educational side. You are now going and teaching in places. You're writing all these books.
I used to teach, but I think I'm also now So I'm still working with the Krishnamurti Foundation to create something unified for the whole world. Can we have a unified website? Can we have a unified look for everything? I work with 2 NGOs. One is Arpan, which is about child sexual abuse. One is Protsahan, which is unique because it uses art and dance and theater and music to heal young girls who have been through trauma.
Wow.
So I help both of those things. I've lost count in how many places how many colleges I have talked about brands.
No, but like I said, I think more than brands, I think you have a very unique perspective of the world. The spiritual perspective, the adventure perspective, and the experiential perspective. Brands are all about
the experience.
The experience and how to sell that experience. Do you think combining this, you could just make a new religion? I mean, you anyway want to promote, your whole Sri Krishna and that Krishnamurti Foundation. The branding guru in you.
Do you need any new religion?
No, I mean, the idea of the religion is there's no religion. So when you become this, it's like what is that? The society called sorry, I'm forgetting again, blanking in the name. The Tom Cruise is a part of that. The religion, what's it called? The Scientology.
I think T. Ron Hubbard is the guy.
So Scientology is this religion which is like the new thing, and all the celebrities are taking up Scientology.
So there was this a very funny tweet where it said that Iceland has named all religions as weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need any more religions.
Yeah. No, so
like, one of the things
like Scientology, why can't you create something?
One of the things, Vishal, I think is a deep down, which is from my dad, from Krishnamurti, that has come, is that the individual is critical. So if at all there is a focus, then it would be about changing one individual, and the individual that you can change the maximum is yourself. So you start with that.
No, but the same brand problem of Tata, you just said, right? Tata has 60% market share and all these people are coming. So you have the same problem, right? You want to change the individual, but this individual is
affected by many things.
So many things. So that's what I'm saying. So how does the branding and marketing
that's what I'm saying. That I'm doing it at an individual level. If a youngster comes, then I'm making sure that I'm accessible.
But you can't do this for 7 billion people individually.
I don't want to do it for 7 billion. There are enough gurus.
No, I'm just saying that, have you thought about somehow creating, using your branding knowledge?
So currently the books are my vehicles.
Okay.
The books of fiction.
And of course, shows like this, and of course you were on Ranveer's show, and I think this is where the new generation is going to get access to this. I think that's really, truly remarkable.
Which is very energizing because, people say that they are wayward and this and that, but there are enough number who are really serious about it.
I think one thing which also is, completely remarkable of you, every time I look at you, you look like this completely ripped. I'm sure you have 6 packs also. You're not just showing it right now to us. You're like this super fit, energetic, glow in your face, all of that, How do you take care of your health? Apart from meditation, what else do you do?
I do a lot of yoga. I do at least 45 minutes to an hour because as I age,
you are reverse aging actually.
It leads to injuries. So I do about 45 minutes to an hour. My staple is the Surya Namaskar.
Wow. And how many Surya Namaskars do you do?
You do 12. Normally it is, unless you are some yogi, you don't, normally they say that don't overdo it. So do that. Then I do Shirshasana, Sarvangasana. These are supposed to be the mother.
Shirshasana, how long can you do Shirshasana?
I can do for a long time, but I keep it to 5 minutes.
Oh, I can do now 90 seconds. I have been training for Shirshasana.
Okay.
So we'll soon have
those are the two
we'll soon have a Shirshasana
competition. So those are the two mother and father
Sarvang, yeah. Sarvang and Sheesh is what I have been also told. So I've started both.
Wonderful.
I've started both. Yeah.
Because they affect your glandular system. That's the key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
then you do Mayurasana for your gut health.
Mm-hmm.
Then I do a lot of stuff for rock climbing, which is basically core strength.
And do you like go every weekend for rock climbing?
Every weekend.
And where do you typically go?
Belapur, Borivali National Park.
And how does a beginner start rock climbing? Like I want to come one day. So
Sure. There are beginners courses. We just finished one about in December.
When is the next course coming up? I mean, and people here, please Google. Is there something people Google? What can they Google?
Yeah, rock climbing courses. There are 4 or 5 big organizations which are active, which can... Your college has the most active...
Yeah, there is a rock climbing wall in Podar.
Yeah, go there. There is a gentleman called Franco who is 68 and one of the best climbers in Mumbai.
Franco.
He's like a legend.
Mm-hmm.
So just go and start there.
Wow, that's a good one. I didn't know that. I'll check that.
So there is a bouldering thing over there and he's there most of the time.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. So when I look at him, I say... I shouldn't be feeling anything special about myself. If he at 68, he can do that.
So one thing I really wanted to also touch upon, recently one of your business partners and again a legend in the advertising industry, Anand Halve, he passed on. And again, multiple health issues. And now you are seeing in the whole environment around us, people are getting unhealthy.
Yes.
All the lifestyle issues are coming up. So what are your thoughts around this, and how do you think people can change themselves? Like Anand was somebody so close to you. So why could you not influence him?
I know. It's a very good question. I tried everything from trying to buy yoga bricks for him because he paid for heavy smoking, which he had stopped 25 years ago. For 25 years, he hadn't touched it. But he never went out for walks or he was not that active. I tried many things, but it didn't work. I think the more pronounced the enemy gets, the greater urgency people will adopt. So when we did research for a motor oil brand, even the mechanics started saying that, sir, this pollution is disastrous. So at all levels of society, that air, water, food is polluted, the rising cost of the rising incidence of cancer, the very fact that insurance companies now have cancer policies. So these, as the enemies grow, I think people will become more urgent in the actions that they take. It is easily the biggest trend worldwide, the whole notion of health, how to look after yourself.
Got it. And, already, so you are fairly young now, you have a long time to go. So where do you see yourself next 10, 20 years? What will you be doing?
No idea.
Apart from starting your own religion, which idea we've already given you, and I'm sure your marketing brain has started working on it.
Really no idea.
It could be a religion where one of the rituals is mountain bouldering and, there'll be like this big statue up और उसको जाने के लिए चढ़ के जाना पड़ेगा.
Fabulous.
I mean, 40,000 people together trying to climb.
Correct. No, I have never planned. I have not planned.
So the plan you have is that there is no plan.
There is no plan. I think the big theme in my life is responsibility, not fear, not afraid of things. But if I've taken the responsibility of this 25 people or 30 people, make sure my organization adds value to them. They will be able to survive their futures. Make sure I add value to my wife's life. She's become a full-fledged naturalist. She looked after stray dogs for 15 years.
Wow.
Now she works in a foundation that looks after tiger sanctuaries in Middle India. She's now interested in arachnology. She's interested in cosmos and all the things that NASA does. So to make sure that she plans to write a book on the in-dog, which is the Indian native dog.
Okay.
which is a different species.
Oh, that's not the Pariyar. The Pariyar.
Pariya.
That's the Pariyar.
Pariya. But you don't, now we have a proper name. Capital I, capital N, capital D, Indog.
Oh, Ind dog.
Indog, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there are ways in which I can help her achieve those aims because they are really noble aims.
Mm-hmm.
Spreading knowledge and things like that. Those are roughly, we have pets. We have 2 dogs, 2 cats.
Wow.
Looking after them.
Yeah, that's a full-time job.
Yes.
That's an absolutely full-time job. So imagine you get a time machine and you had an ability to go in the past or in the future. Where will you go? What time and what will you be doing?
I don't know, maybe in the future. Past, I think, let it be as it is. It's not. But have you heard of Aldous Huxley?
No.
Aldous Huxley was one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century. His brother was a paleontologist, brother or uncle, I don't know. He was very close to Krishnamurti. So he wrote this book, Brave New World, where he talked about how governments would take charge of individuals' life because the TV in the room would also be broadcasting what you're doing, which is roughly what is happening in China, internet. And everybody said this is such a dystopian sense of the world. Why didn't you write something more positive? So he wrote a book called Island, which is a very utopian sense of the world. So there is this tiny island and one Westerner gets stranded and he's a surgeon and he and the king is a Buddhist. They create a society which is incredibly beautiful.
In this island?
On this island. So hopefully, if I had a time machine, maybe go to that island.
Wow. Okay. So
it also has rock climbers in the story.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting plan, taking the time machine to a rock climbing island in the future. So on that note, what are the books you recommend people they should read?
For?
Any 3 books you would recommend people?
I have done tons of fiction. I love, my favorite author in fiction is a guy called Tom Robbins. A very niche guy, but he's the closest to my heart in terms of his beliefs, my beliefs, his writing style, everything. If you want to read, if you're inclined towards understanding yourself and meaning like that, one great writer is Ken Wilber. He has a book called No Boundaries. One great writer is Alan Watts, who was the greatest translator of Eastern thought to the West. He has a book called The Book, which is very simple to remember.
The Book. That's a good one.
Yeah. There is a Buddhist gentleman who has written, Gunaratne, I think. He's written a beautiful book called Mindfulness in Plain English. It's beautiful. And remember, again, I'm saying this because all 3 have no dogma, no superstructure of thought. It's plain English explaining everything from deep experience.
Wow. Are you into music?
No, that's only, I'm tone deaf.
Tone deaf?
Meaning I can't tell one note from the other and things like that. I love rhythm. I love.
So how come music never, normally music becomes a part of creative life, right?
It's not. It's a very good question. My sister plays the sitar and all of that. But I've never, when I used to have a couple of drinks, I used to play the ghatam. But that was more because they tolerated the noise than anything else.
Okay. So how can people enhance their creativity? If I want to be creative, what do I do? Or there is a day when somebody asked you, ये idea चाहिए मेरे को कल सुबह तक.
Yeah. I had a partner who also passed away in 2016, Nalesh Patil, who used to put an alarm clock. And he would say, okay, you have briefed me now? How many ideas do you want in how much time? And he would deliver. So there is this is a self-created myth that you need time for. What we say is that creation of an idea takes no time. It's like creation of a baby, right? You have an orgasm and the baby is conceived. Execution will always take time. You will need 9 months. If you want to create the television commercial, that will take a month. But the idea can come in a second. What, if you want to be more creative, fundamentally there are differences in levels of creativity that people have. But 100% of the time, you can be more creative than what you are by avoiding the barriers. First barrier is comparison. He can do this, I can't. But he's built of a different DNA, you are built of a different DNA. So one is comparison. Second is impatience, that I'm not getting the... All creativity, all problem solution goes through 5 steps. There is no escape. So there is problem definition, ingestion, frustration, illumination, and verification. There is no escape from these 5 steps if you want to come up with a great idea. So you have to go through that frustration stage where you can't find a new solution.
Got it. And 3 of your favorite campaigns. Could be yours, could be anybody else's.
Advertising campaigns.
Yeah. Brand advertising.
India or anywhere?
Anywhere.
Oh, anywhere, then definitely the Volkswagen work by Bernbach. It's probably the world's greatest.
The one where the Vin Diesel, not Vin Diesel, sorry, Van Damme is...
No, that is recent.
Oh, sorry,
that is Volvo, yeah.
That's Volvo, yeah.
This is
Volkswagen, sorry.
This is 1960, 70. Okay. Fabulous. Then, of course, the apocryphal Apple TV commercial. 1984.
IBM.
1984.
Yeah.
So that was a George Orwell novel, 1984. That was based on. In India, I think maybe Hamara Bajaj.
Hamara Bajaj, anything new?
New, I think the Google ad, India-Pakistan Google ad, beautiful. Beautifully cast, beautifully shot, beautifully done.
Wow. So that's...
Have you seen the Google ad? Yeah. Because the product is interwoven, you don't suddenly have to start and scream that, oh, this is Google. It's already part of the story. It's endless. I mean, there are millions of... I'm part of the marketing society of UK. So I get to see many campaigns from around the world. So there are tons of great work.
Got it. So what are your favorite possessions, since Krishnamurti didn't have any possessions?
Definitely the Mac that I use.
A Mac. Okay.
I carry that everywhere, even on holidays. There's tons of things to do, right? And my climbing shoes.
Climbing shoes are always with you, huh?
Yeah.
Abhi bhi gaadi mein honge.
Not now, but...
So, I had a friend who was also on the show, Dr. Ashish Contractor. He carries his marathon running shoes and gear in his car. So he's like, kabhi mera mood kare, main gaadi driver ko bolta tum chale jao, and I start running from there.
So, we are part of this thing called the Network One, which is a network of independent agencies. And they had a summit in London. And I took my shoes and suddenly I found a friend who was going to his gym. So
okay, chalo climbing karte.
Yeah. That's the way.
Yeah. At least one thing is good कि आपको कोई झाड़ पे नहीं चढ़ा सकते. हाँ? क्योंकि झाड़ से ऊपर तो आप रोज चढ़ते हो, right? Normally सबको लोग चढ़ाते रहते हैं ना?
Yeah, for instance, in Calcutta, Lintas Calcutta and Lintas London were the only 2 offices that had their own buildings. Lintas Calcutta was in a bungalow and the creative room was upstairs on the first floor. So I used to go into the room from outside.
चढ़ के पीछे से. Amazing. No, but I think, Kiran, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I have learned so many new things over here, and I hope the people listening to this our conversation would have also benefited from it.
Yeah.
But I think one thing which I have learned from you, and I think my takeaway is this quest for truth. I think what started for you at the age of 14 continues even today.
Yes,
even though
it's a process. Yeah.
Even though you got the answer that there is no truth, but still you are trying to find out that why is there no truth?
Yeah.
So I think the answer is always there, and
I think besides that, even an interaction with you, when you ask questions, I think I get to learn, because every time I'm answering, I'm looking at what I'm thinking, right?
No,
that
absolutely.
itself is a learning thing for me.
So, like I said, next time we are going to meet on top of a boulder where we'll be climbing together.
Anytime.
And we will be talking about brands while discovering truth. Thanks a lot,
Fantastic.
Kiran. Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Don Bradman, and now Cyrus Brocha. Okay, probably not in the right company. I mean, Don Bradman is Australian. But it's called Cyrus Says, a wonderful show about everything. Find the show on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Cyrus Says is brought to you by Storytel. Keep in mind that if you go through storytel.com/IVM, you get a 30-day free trial as against a 14-day free trial on the link. All right? It's very simple. All you got to do is log on to storytel.com/IVM. Millions and millions and millions of stories, many written by me.
Think fast. If I tell you I'm Parsi, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Dhansak. I don't blame you. My name is Parzan Patel. You may know me as the Bhavi Bride. Though I run a popular Parsi food blog, the truth is I didn't know anything about Parsi food until I got married. It was just my luck. He turned out to be your typical sadra lega wearing, kawab khari eating Parsi boy. And the only thing I knew was dhansak, or rather, how to eat it. But there's more to Parsi food than dhansak. And there is more to us than our obsession with eggs and our legendary Rani cafes. Welcome to Not Just Dhansak, a fresh new show where I talk to friends, fellow Babas and Parsi entrepreneurs about all things Bhonu. A little bit of history, a dash of Baba madness, and a lot of food talk. There's more to Parsis than meets the eye, and there's certainly more to us than dhansak. Join me every Tuesday as I talk to some of my favorite Parsis in the food space in India and beyond. I am the Bhavi Bride, and this is Not Just Dhansak.